Well, Blake, it is Friday. Welcome aboard, whoever's going to be here with us today. We're starting a little early. Blake, you've got an appointment around 2 o'clock or so. So we want to give Blake plenty of time to make that appointment. In the meantime, we got a good show lined up. A lot of stuff going, a lot of frustration with the GOP. It's one of the big stories we're following today. The U.S. Senate pushed through, rushed through at 3 o'clock in the morning legislation that did not provide for the border patrol agents to get paid, or obviously the number one, the most probably the most important, ICE are not being funded. But that there was, at least for the transportation safety agents, those guys were covered in a 3 o'clock in the morning, and the individuals that of relevance, the people in the know, suggest that Chuck Schumer was behind the whole thing, but that I forget Thune's first name. I've been Canadian at the end of the day, and like the big Canadian, we're a couple of Canadians.
Yeah.
Lucky, and we love America. We follow what's going on because everything that happens south of our border. Hang on till I get back. Sorry, I just winked out for a bit and I'm back in on the other camera, which is fine. We can do this for a bit. Anyway, so we're very interested in what's going on south of our border, because everything that goes on there affects us. We're the next door neighbor, the poor sibling, if you will, to the United States of America. Mm-hmm. A lot of stories to get into. Right now, one of the biggest story is what's going on in Australia, and not just Australia, but in New Zealand. I'm going to show a couple. Is our kind of modus operandi around here. I'm going to show you a couple of clips or YouTube links or Twitter X platform links, and then what we'll do is we'll turn over to Blake, get his thoughts on it. Kind of interesting to see what's going on. A lot of pressure. Whoops. Wrong button. A lot of pressure going on in the economy right now. Mm-hmm. Okay, so right away in the southern part of our world, and as our policy around here, I like to make these things nice and big so you can all read. This is how supply chains collapse, kid. Australia right now, truckers are stranded, fuel stations are running empty, no diesel anywhere. I've driven 500 kilometers, not a drop left, and now lines of trucks just waiting. No fuel equals no deliveries. No deliveries equals empty shelves at the shopping, at your grocery store. This doesn't stay in Australia. It spreads. Watch closely, because once this starts, it moves fast. And here's, I guess, a fella in Australia. They have the best accents in the world. Let's see what he says. Let's go big and play the clip. Here we go.
I'm on a quarter of a tank. Been driving for about 500 kilometers. Not a drop of diesel anywhere. So this is a service station that's run completely out of diesel, and these trucks here are all waiting. And this is like this across South Australia and now Victoria. I'm on a quarter of a tank.
All right.
Been driving for about.
All right. And I want to go here, and I want to go here. Now, all right, so that's Australia, but we've got another report coming in, and I want to share this one with you as well.
Yeah.
We got this one here. Here we go. Yeah, and it's the same problem. We're going to look at New Zealand now, but their problem is the same problem as Australia, right? We're in the land down under. New Zealand produces no oil at all. They closed their last gasoline refinery in 2022. They import 100% of gasoline, almost all from China, but who shut gasoline exports to New Zealand 3 weeks ago. New Zealand is sort of fucked right now. Eventually, it will get sorted, but today it's a crisis. So New Zealand, Australia, feeling the pitch. I got a few more, but I'll turn it over. Yeah, and this is the whole thing. It's not just a mad world. It's a great movie. This is more akin to Road Warrior, Mad Max, Thunder Beyond Thunderdome. This is Mad Mel driving his Dodge, what a Charger out in the wilds of Australia, looking for gasoline. I need gasoline for my car. Blake, what do you think? And what's caused it? Is there any? What's the method to the madness? Is there anything to learn from this? What in the hell is going on? Let us know.
Well, Trump's doing exactly what these other countries should have been doing, and that is reindustrializing, not deindustrializing. And the globalist system was to create this new green world by reducing their dependency off local production of oil, which means producing it into gasoline and plastics and other materials that you can make from oil. But yeah, they've shut down and locked out a bunch of their capacity to be able to produce gasoline. They shut them down. I think they were down to 1 or 2 in Australia. I have a friend down there who's a businessman, and we were just chatting about it 2 days ago. And he's really upset. He's saying, like, they're talking about rationing, which they haven't seen since 1979, 1980, when the Iran crisis was kind of the end of that whole interest rate skyrocketing period, end of the Carter years, the beginning of Reagan. But yeah, this shows when you deindustrialize and you become reliant on the globalist world order, this is what happens. You're now completely at the mercy of global supply chains. And, China is one of them. I believe there was a company out of Singapore. I believe I was told he was saying that was providing much of the gasoline, or they might call petrol, deliveries that were coming into Australia. They're dependent off that, and diesel. So I think it's a classic sign. The Green World Order was BS. And now you've got these choke points, and these choke points are showing that when you are reliant off other countries 100%, this is the danger. And Trump has said this about America. They didn't want to become just a large Australia desperate for materials, because if they shut down all of their oil producing capacity in the United States, it'd be a disaster. If they greenified everything so rapidly that before anything could even catch up. The whole point, anybody who believes in green energy and all that, that's fine. But it has to be done through the free market way. You can't subsidize your way into success, because government subsidies prove it's not successful. The only way it's proven to be successful is by free market economics, which means if you can produce something that people want at the right price, then they will buy it, right? It's that simple. Is it dependable? It's going to work for them. They'll do it. But when you bring in this ideological standpoint that the world is dying from carbon, and lie to the people about it, because that's not science. This is what the reaction is. This is what we're seeing. We're seeing this global dependency system that should work. I mean, I'm sure they would be able to, if they had more refineries. They had 10 of them apparently in Australia at one point. They're down to 2, I think was the number he told me. Canada, very similar. I think we've only got 2 refineries out west. I don't know if there is. I believe there's one out east because of Irving Oil importing Saudi oil from into the Maritimes. That's why we needed Energy East pipeline in Canada. But again, the production level, if you're not able to produce it locally, you're in trouble. And this is a classic sign of what happens. So, everybody's cursing Iran for it, but it's not just Iran. It's your own governments did this to you. They did it. And by closing out these industrial aspects of your country because they thought it was unclean for the environment and bad for the air, and that's what happens.
So in Canada, I mean, it's pretty predictable. It's the same kind of thing that's happening in Australia and New Zealand. We're in better shape, I think, because we have our own natural resources that we can pull out of the ground in an emergency. But still, we're feeling the same impact. Gas up here was, you were just telling me, what is it in Victoria, what we're paying?
We are paying. I think when I saw it yesterday, it was basically 211 a liter, so 210.9. So
So
yeah,
almost
211 a
$9.
liter.
Yeah, like around $9 a gallon of gas, basic.
Canadian, so yeah, closer to $7 US a gallon range. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
man, nasty, nasty prices.
Y-
What's interesting in marked contrast to what we're seeing with the Australia, New Zealand, Canada with their green policies. Trump saw, dig, drill, 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 dig, dig, dig. Trumpy bear. I love this story here. A very encouraging story coming out of California. Nice to have some good news come out of California, and it's a boom story. Let's make it big. Chicago Ray, boom, we have 600 million barrels of oil offshore in California. It was blocked for 11 years by environmentalist wackos. Trump signed an executive order declaring that the Defense Production Act that instructed Energy Secretary Chris Wright to bring it back online, and that's what he did. So this California pipeline is back after a decade of inaction. Once again, we go big. Let's play the clip. Why the hell not?
Its pipeline off the coast of Santa Barbara. And even bigger news, perhaps, is Chevron announcing it's going to start buying tens of thousands of barrels of oil from Sable. Well, Newsom's perfectly coiffed hair is probably on fire right now. The governor and the state are already suing to stop the pipeline. But these companies are brushing it off because it's time to drill, baby, drill.
Yeah, drill, drill, drill.
Welcome to the platform Harmony. It's one of the 3 rigs owned by Sable, and it's where the whole process begins. Oil flows up from the well, and it's pumped to shore. This field is home to more than 600 million barrels of oil trapped for 11 years. It's home to the biggest oil reserve remaining on federal lands, this field. The crude oil then goes from this platform through the pipeline to the Las Flores Canyon processing plant. Jay Caldwell Flores, the chief operating officer and president of Sable, took us through the process. What are we looking at exactly here?
We're walking through the Las Flores Canyon pipeline station. So this is where we ship 60,000 barrels of oil a day through that pump there into the
Wait. How many?
60,000 barrels a day of processed crude going down to El Segundo refinery that's owned by Chevron.
When's the last time El Segundo refinery had that much oil running through it?
It has a good number of couple 100,000 barrels, but this is a significant portion, and they have not had our crude in over 11 years.
So your crude hasn't gone through because of all the litigation.
All right. Isn't that fantastic, Blake? I mean, that's how you do it. But it speaks to a bigger issue, a larger issue. Again, what the hell? Why didn't Newsom? How was it allowed to say? What kind of godless incompetence, or is it incompetence, or is it, again, we're looking at controlled demolition of the American economy because it just makes things more difficult for the middle class, a burden on everything. And when gas and fuel prices are high, then everything costs more.
Yeah. Well, so
here's Trump to the rescue again. MAGA, that is MAGA. People often ask, what is MAGA? That's MAGA, Make America Great Again, Prosperity America. It's you guys being the top nation on the planet, exploiting the wealth that you have, your natural resources, and you're number 1 in the world. Thank God for that. And anyway, speak to it, Blake. What's going on there?
Well, and I think this is probably a lot more complex than left-wing policy, because I don't think this is a left-wing policy. Left-wing activists are used and funded by financial interests that want to profit on choke points on fuel production, because the less that is produced, the more valuable the oil is, right? That's essentially what they're doing. They're making it very difficult to get it out of the ground when they could produce it locally. But people are being paid off to pass legislation to go and be activists. That's why we see it in Canada. These are a lot of foreign activists. These environmental groups are funded heavily by none other than big oil. So I think what Trump is doing, he's breaking that old world order that has been controlling the oil trade around the world. And he's saying, no, drill, baby, drill. We're no longer holding things back. We want America to be free. And the only way to be free is to stop this crony capitalist corruption scheme run by massive financial interests around the world to prevent oil to being coming out of the ground much more rapidly, to provide more supply. More supply means what? Cheaper prices.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. But none of these guys want cheaper prices. And when you think about it, some of the world's largest banks are connected. The biggest financial interests in the world out of the city of London, out of New York, big public pension funds, all of those guys are big asset management companies, the BlackRocks, the Brookfields, all of those types of companies heavily invested in pipeline production and controlling oil. Of course, they were very concerned about Venezuela because, of course, they were tied to Venezuela until Trump went in there and say, your puppet is out. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing there. What's interesting about California, as well as up here on our own coast, we have oil reserves off British Columbia, and there's a federal moratorium blocking the production of energy off the coast of British Columbia. But California, to this day, if you go down to Los Angeles, they have been pumping oil out of the ground in the city of Los Angeles for 120 years. You can go see them today near LAX. There's fields of pumps still going there, and they're still operating today. It's quite amazing. They've got, we think of the La Brea tar pits.
Yeah.
Why is that? It's because there's huge amounts of oil production.
Dinosaurs. The dinosaurs melted
Well,
and turned
the
into...
whole valley there is just full of oil. And I think it's just shown that California is really a victim of its own crony corrupt state. And that's when I say that. When these guys come across as leftists, they're not really leftists. They're frauds. They're putting on the production that they're leftists. These Democrats are being run by big interests who want to control things. And unfortunately, they've chosen the path of radicalization because the people on the right believe in free enterprise, free trade, that we believe in the ability to compete fairly, a fair playing field for all to compete. So you can be all you can be, where the left is fine with the idea of state intervention to control and then use feel good policies to shut down the means of those production. And that's, I think, what California and really the United States and Canada way ahead of the game of shutting that down and controlling production to a limit. And, they in Canada, we decided to, under Carney, got rid of the carbon tax, but they didn't get rid of the carbon tax. They put a back end tax on the industrial side carbon tax, not the front end tax you were paying at the pump. So all of a sudden went down. But guess what? On April 1st, we get an increase on the industrial carbon tax, which is all production in Canada is going to be paying more just on a carbon tax.
Yeah, it's counterintuitive. So again, teach me. All that does is punish the middle class with this vision.
Punishes everybody, even the poor. Everybody gets hurt on that. Everybody.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the middle class are the drivers of the economy. Probably the purest example, or the purest indicator of a culture, of a society's well-being is the health and prosperity of its middle class, I would argue. I mean, Jesus said, "You'll always have the poor amongst you," and I leave it for the audience to come to their own conclusions as to why that might be. But in terms of, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, prosperity, life and life more abundantly, which should be part and parcel of the inheritance of a first world nation, our governments collectively seem to be doing everything in their power to take that away from us. So, for example, in Canada, more tax. Now, I read a great post, and unfortunately, I didn't save it. It's very interesting. They suggested that Trump is doing this in order to accelerate the environmentalist agenda with green energy and this sort of thing on a timeline that is not of the globalists choosing, that he's actually accelerating the process of where we would be down the road further by but prior to the implementation of digital IDs, the full implementation of the green taxes, green energy alternatives, all this sort of thing, so that it reveals that it's unsustainable and how bogus the whole climate change agenda is, that it's a punch right in the solar plexus of
Yeah.
that thinking. And it's designed to reveal the fraudulent nature of it. And there is a lot of fraud, and we'll get into fraud stories. There's one a day here going on. There was more than one a day, but we can pick and choose.
Well, and I think Trump's viewpoint is more, I would say, more of a simplistic view on the idea of supply and demand. If you're restricting supply, you're causing costs to go up. If you're restricting production, you're putting your own country in danger, right? He's just seeing it purely on the 101 economics, and it's all the other turds in the far left, or even in the right, that are the crony capitalists. They're not capitalists, they're crony, they're fake. Let's call them closer to fascists, because they're allied to the public system and to make sure that they get legislated protections and things like that. But he knows that is where the choke points are. The choke points are all based on these systems that have put around the world, these supply systems that have artificial choke points where these crony capitalists are restricting that access. So I think the byproduct to that is what you're describing. And that's just my opinion. It's a byproduct. Is the reveal is that your green agenda doesn't work. It's collapsing in real time, because this is what happens with the supply.
Yeah, in Trump's words, he calls it a scam. The New Deal scam, the green scam, and he talks about the windmills that are powered in Scotland by diesel fuel, and that the hypocrisy of the environmentalists. Yeah. With all the dead eagles down at the foot of at the base of these windmills. And you've been downstates a lot more than I have.
I've seen all the mills everywhere.
But I've been down. I mean, you go from LA into, the little resort place that just escapes me right now. But anyway, and you come in there, and all the windmills are out there on the hills. The solar power are all out there on the hills. I mean, not only are they an eyesore, but this is a big California dream. Now I can't speak to it. They seem to work fine in that location, but in other locations they sit idle and they don't work, and they fall into disrepair and they collapse, and there's a whole bunch of problems. Then there's the petrodollar scam. A long time ago, I saw a guy saying, here's how it works. You, as a government, put in $1 billion or whatever the fee may be to get a tax or a carbon credit. So the country pays in, the carbon credit comes back. You get, in exchange for your government's investment, you get a carbon credit back. And then out of that carbon credit, some of that money gets kicked back to your own recognizance. I'm just going to turn it over to you for a sec on that, Blake. I'm going to tease or bother the boss to grab me a glass of water.
Sounds good. But you bang on that. A lot of these industries, including the windmills, are a joke. I mean, they're produced in China. Trump's right. They cost a fortune to create. The Chinese are laughing. Well, they're building a coal-fired energy plant almost every week is opening up. They're just going all in on coal and coal can be cleanly produced. And everywhere that they've talked about this carbon emissions reduction side, who survives off carbon and loves it? Is plants. And what do plants produce? Oxygen. So I know there's been the scientists will say, well, you can have an overproduction. It's like, okay, but the overproduction was when dinosaurs were walking the earth, because there was a higher level of oxygen on the earth. And so what will happen? The earth will adapt to more oxygen, just like it has done. There's changes that happen naturally through the environment. That's just what happens. But the point is, economically, it's a false economy created by a scam to cause the price of everything to increase. And those globalists, and I'm talking about those multinational corporations allied to those interests, are the ones that are pulling the chains on that, because they can restrict entry into the capitalist system by doing that, make it too expensive for the average person to go and start a business, unless you just want to be a nail filer and, you know, you could do all these other services, gig-like economies, but, you know, they really restrict access for people around the world to enter in to be truly competitors. And competition is what creates good prices, and it creates better products, because when you have people competing with each other on a like in a sports game, you've got equal players playing each other. There's no referee playing one side or the other. It's one set of rules for all. It's only going to make everybody better, right? Makes your product better. You're going to fight to get better. You want to compete. You want to do this. The pricing, you want to make sure you want to get the best price, best product. And the winner is the consumer in the end, right? But when you get crony capitalism introduced, which we have suffered under now for a long time, this was the WF model. You'll own nothing and be happy. Sit back and collect a welfare check or a dividend, a carbon dividend or whatever call it. They'll name whatever fancy name to make people into believers. Oh, this is great. I'll never have to work. And you're going to give me a shoebox to live in?
Guaranteed basic income garbage.
Yeah, and that's kind of the goal. It's like, no, we don't want you to participate, except for those that we tap on the shoulder to be resource extractors for us. And then meanwhile, on the back end, it's like, well, but we also don't want to fund you for living too long. So we're going to start mating you around the world, right? Yeah. We'll find ways to remove you, as soon as you become too costly for us to keep. So, it is an evil empire that was created, is being destroyed by Trump. Trump is blowing that up. And I think, as you said, you're right. It is exposing this whole plan as they are now reeling from the effects of it. Places like Australia, we talked about.
There's a lot of pieces on the board moving, in my opinion, like on various fronts. It's not just the oil. It's not just Iran. It's all over. It's Venezuela. It's John Brennan being subpoenaed along with Comey and all that corruption, Russiagate, how our governments have lied to us, the Canadian government as well. A lot is coming to light. We're not even halfway through Trump's administration. Thank God. We're not even halfway through yet, right? We're kind of almost, a year away.
We're a year and a bit.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. So while we're speaking of some hope and some positivity, I got two more stories of positivity, at least from where I'm sitting. Let's take a look at these in turn. Okay, so this is some malfeasance. These Congress people, these senators, a lot of these politicians, trouble. Breaking Representative Sheila Cherfilus McCormick, a Democrat, Florida, found guilty of financial misconduct and other charges by the House Ethics Committee. She now faces a federal indictment and more than 50 years in prison, in addition to expulsion from Congress. The charges stem from accusations she stole millions in FEMA COVID-19 relief funds and funneled the cash into her campaign for Congress in 2021. So it's a minute long, so we can afford to play the clip. Let's get to the story. Here we go.
Sheila Cherfilus McCormick committed 25 ethics violations.
And this comes after Cherfilus McCormick spent 7 hours in a rare high-pressure meeting on Capitol Hill on Thursday. The Congresswoman refused to answer our crews on her way out. The Democrat is facing more than 24 charges for alleged misconduct, and the charges include accusations that she stole millions of dollars in FEMA COVID-19 relief funds and funneled the cash into her campaign for Congress in 2021. Cherfilus McCormick is also facing a federal indictment for the same alleged activity. She's fiercely denying any wrongdoing.
My client on the one side of me saying, that's not true, I want to get up and I want to testify and I want to explain something. How can she possibly go into court and have a fair trial if her jurors have already heard that she was found guilty by the House of Representatives?
Lawmakers hearing the case saying this morning that they will consider her punishment, but no other details were released. Sheriff McCormick could face more than 50 years in prison and potential expulsion from Congress.
Sheila, Sheriff McCormick committed.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
potential. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And now I want to share this clip.
Well, I just want to say quickly,
Yeah.
she's a low-level Democrat in the congressional world. So let's call it for what I'm sure she didn't figure that out on her own. She was definitely a higher ups within the
Oh, no,
Democratic
I
Party
know.
were showing her the system.
I want to
right?
play
So-
this one as well because they're both related. It's just
Yeah.
the theme here is two stories, quick stories, the good news
Yeah.
about corruption. This is another corruption story that we've all been following. Breaking Vice President J.D. Vance has officially confirmed that Representative Ilhan Omar had committed immigration fraud. She committed it.
Yep.
She definitely committed immigration fraud against the United States of America. The vice president says the White House is going to go after Omar for those crimes. What are the legal remedies now that we know she's committed immigration fraud? How do you go after her? How do you investigate her? How do you actually build the case to actually get some justice for the American people? Vance also calls for a probe into Omar's knowledge of rampant Somali fraud in Minnesota. In other words, she knew what was going on. She'd been at the center of a lot of the worst fraudsters Somali community. All right, so this is Benny. I forget his last name, but he's another one of these
Johnson.
pundits.
Benny Johnson.
Benny Johnson says his name. All right, here we go. Let's go big. Come on, Vance. Let us know what's going on with Ilhan Omar.
About Ilhan Omar and Tim Walz.
Exactly.
And obviously, Ilhan Omar, the president and the White House have been out saying that she married her brother, that there is immigration fraud going on here. These are deportable denaturalization offenses. Can you give us an update on that?
Yeah, so we actually think that Ilhan Omar definitely committed immigration fraud against the United States of America. And I talked to Stephen Miller about this actually recently. We're trying to look at what the remedies are. That's the thing that we're trying to figure out is what are the legal remedies now that we know that she's committed immigration fraud? How do you go after her? How do you investigate her? How do you actually do the thing? How do you build the case necessary to get some justice for the American people? There's a related issue, Benny, which is she has been at the center of a lot of the worst fraudsters in the Somalian community. So do I know that Ilhan Omar was aware that the Quality Leering Center was defrauding the American people? I'm not certain of it, but we at least need to investigate it, because if people can commit wrongdoing without even the fear that they're going to be found out, that's a fundamental problem. So I'm worried about the immigration fraud. I'm also worried about what did Ilhan Omar know about what was happening in the Somali community, and why was nobody looking into it until, frankly, Donald Trump came along.
All right, so a couple of good feel good stories there. One a low-laying congresswoman out of Florida, but she's being caught for a lot of corruption. Letitia James is being indicted as well. And I believe that one is not in Virginia or DC, you know, where these Democrat strongholds are, where they tend to get away with things. I believe she's being indicted in an unfriendly jurisdiction. So it's very likely that she is going to face justice finally for her witch hunt, as Trump rightly called it, going after him. She's atrocious. These are really, it's organized crime is what we're dealing with here. And we're going to get to the grand old party shortly. But I just right now, a couple of Democrat stories, and Ilhan Omar actually, you know, what do they call him? You know, the gang,
the squad.
The squad. That's it.
Yeah.
With Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez,
highly educated bartender.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous, and the shit that comes out of that woman. But anyway, so you got two cases, Ilhan Omar. This congresswoman, what do you think of any justice going to come for either? My own instincts tell me that the Florida case definitely. She's in Florida and she's screwing around, where you know she's surrounded by Republicans, so it's not going to go well for her. She's going to get torpedoed there, and then and she's guilty. I mean, if you listen to any of the stuff that they had against her, I think it was like 25 counts, and they explained what she did. And I mean, my God, how egregious. She took a FEMA, you know, for a natural disaster
to help people.
my house is all blown up and I don't have any food to feed the youngins. And
That's right.
meanwhile, she's getting a Gucci purse for herself. Oh, that sucks to be you.
It's all part of the big scam.
And then meanwhile, of course, we know all about the fraud that went over Nick Shirley, who's become a household name. When this kid came out of there, I said, oh, Nick something, I don't know who he is. Now, Nick Shirley, we all know.
Now he's coming to Canada, apparently.
I heard the rumor. Yeah, he's going to take a look at our garbage. That ain't going to be. He won't feel good after that. We're a cesspool.
I think that when somebody said that, I said Nick Shirley's not going to get across the border because they'll just ban him like they did with what's his name, Tommy Robinson. They give him a 5-year ban.
Yeah,
he can't come back to Canada for 5 years.
Yeah.
So Nick Shirley, he'll show up. They'll be like, okay, but the problem is that Ilhan Omar, it's a no-brainer. It's like this is a person that has shown zero love for the country.
No, she hates it.
So how the hell did somebody issue her an immigration visa and then make her into a citizen? How does that happen? Outside of corruption at the highest level to put in their Manchurian candidate plans, build them up into what you want them to be, community organizers. We know what those are. Ask Barack Obama.
Yeah, Barack, Chicago.
Yeah. You're an organizer. Well, you're in president.
Yeah.
Right.
That's my next job.
That's right.
I organized a ping pong tournament last Wednesday.
President.
I qualified to be president of the United States of America.
So, but look, the fact is, she married her brother to cheat the system. To bring him into the United States.
It's nuts, man.
So why is this even a discussion? It's like, boop, citizen gone, boop, out of the country you go.
Yeah.
You're just gone. Like, go back home. You love Somalia. Go there. Why don't you go clean up Somalia? Why don't you lead Somalia to prosperity? Why don't you take your ideas and turn Somalia into this great place? Because why? The pirate culture in Minnesota is pretty good. You can live high on the horse, have government subsidies running all those daycares and having getting a piece of the action on all of them for your political campaign. Again, another person who's become a multimillionaire on a congresswoman's salary. So how does that happen? We all know it's like, okay, we know there's a lot of money going on in that.
Yeah, and we talked about this before, that it was no surprise, really, if you think about following the money, that kind of thinking, that Tim Walz got tagged for VP because there was a lot of fraudulent money that could be funneled into Kamala Harris's campaign. Yeah. And so Tim Walz said, I'll give you the money, but, what are you going to do for me? How would you like to be VP? So you come out of a kind of a quiet northern state, Minnesota, and you come into the big leagues of USA politics by becoming vice president of the whole show. How'd you like
apparently
that?
Producing billions of dollars through
so it explains where the money came from.
He was an earner. He was an earner.
The same deal that Hillary Clinton offered the DNC when she ran. They were bankrupt. They're always going bankrupt because they don't make money. Everything's so fraudulent with them. I heard something. What do you do when you can't raise money among your own constituents? You money launder through foreign agencies such as the Ukraine. That story is also breaking right now.
Or create a foundation and then pay yourself off that foundation.
Exactly. Yeah. There's many avenues where they funnel money. Another one that they do is a book launch. Oprah Winfrey does, comes to book Michelle Obama's, and what's freaking awful for me as a Canadian? I go into the rare occasion, I've practically boycotted, I really should all the way, but you go into a Chapters or an Indigo bookstore and you shouldn't be, but if you have your eyes open, take a look how many books by Democrats are on the shelves there, because they get these book launches. Then you find out that they're number 1, number 2 on the New York Times bestseller list, which is another scam. in order to raise the profile. And then all this money goes through. So you write a little tell-all, you write your book. And I swear to God, just go, for you in America, go to your Barnes and Nobles. It'll tell you the same story.
Yeah.
And look how many Democrats have there. I did it, this, that, and the other thing. There's,
and they're not
or you
flying
can
off
find
the
Trump
shelves.
books, but they're all anti-Trump books. Somebody wrote, I was in Trump administration. I hate the guy. John Bolton, Why I Hate Donald Trump, by John Bolton, a novel in 6 parts.
Well,
So-
the scam, you hit it right there. I mean,
Yeah.
the book scam is a scam because essentially you just take millions of dollars from, as I said, whatever entity that's supporting you. They dump your book out on there. It doesn't sell. It doesn't matter if it's selling, but they go and buy 1 million copies, and you make your money off the 1 million copies, but it's sitting in a warehouse collecting dust, and then it goes to the incinerator, or you see it in
Or
the
a week
bargain bins
later,
2
you go
years
in.
later.
Yeah, you go in like 2 weeks after it's on the New York Times bestseller list, and you're seeing it discount for 98 cents.
That's
And
right.
because nobody's buying this shit. Like
Yeah.
a very, very small percentage of radical left-wing lunatics
Yeah.
are out there buying these books. But the average individual doesn't give a sweet F all what these
Yeah.
morons have to say. So the grift is real. Now,
Yeah.
Marco Rubio, some more good news while we're on the good news. We get a lot of panicans. We get a lot of retards. Word back and folk. I love it. Marco Rubio out on the tarmac doing an impromptu interview. One of the questions came through, Trump, the war, what's happening? The Hormuz Strait. Oh, dear. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Marco Rubio, Iran war will be over soon. The war fearmongers can relax. It's ending soon. They have a plan. They're going through with it. And that is all happening. So,
Except
some
for
more-
Ben Shapiro is saying, "Whoa, we can't now because you got to stay there. It's going to take
Yeah.
years now." So watch out for Ben Shapiro lately too.
So normally I like to end on good news, and maybe by the end of the show we will. But for now, we got to do some bad news. And another thing that drives me nuts, Blake, is when you're talking to these frickin' Democrats, they go, "You have control of both houses. Trump should have this all done." But what they don't understand is, and we've done this before. I mean, one of the best memes I ever made was a frickin' GOP elephant on Trump's back. Trump trying to haul this frickin' elephant around, and it's horrible. Now, this is I got a few lined up again. I'll scatter blast them, and once again, Blake, as I like to do here, turn it over to you. But I want to play maybe 2 or 3 of these things. They're all kind of related. Here we go. This is how the GOP Senate blocks Trump from recess appointments. 2-minute pro forma sessions every few days during their vacation. Only POTUS in history that has had recess appointments blocked by his own party. Think about that. Traitors, sickening. So here's actual action, okay, how they work the pro forma. So they're going to come in here. They're going to announce that we don't have anybody in place. So we're going to appoint our own little character here for a couple of weeks. And then we're going to, next time we have a little break, we're going to come in and then we're going to name another one. And so I think you'll see 2 dates, August 8th and August 15th. Every couple of weeks, they have to go through this drill. It's a way of keeping Trump from getting his perma appointee in place in situ, like attorney generals and like. Here we go.
The House will be in order. The chair lays before the House a communication from the Speaker.
The Speaker's Rooms, Washington, D.C., August 8, 2025. I hereby appoint the Honorable Mike Kelly to act as Speaker pro tempore on this day. Signed, Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House of Representatives.
The prayer will be offered.
Okay, then we skip
Thank you,
forward.
Reverend. Pursuant to Clause 13 of Rule 1, the Journal of the Last Day's Proceedings is approved. No to the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. Pursuant to Clause 13 of Rule 1, the House stands adjourned until 9 a.m. on Tuesday, August the 12th, 2025.
The Senate will come to order. The clerk will read a communication to the Senate. Washington, D.C., August 8, 2025. To the Senate. Under the provisions of Rule 1, Paragraph 3 of the Standing Rules of the Senate, I hereby appoint the Honorable Bernie Moreno as Senator from the state of Ohio to perform the duties of the chair, signed Chuck Grassley, President pro tempore.
Under the previous order, the Senate stands adjourned until 8 a.m. on Tuesday, August 12th, 2025.
So every couple of weeks they come in and they just assign a new face in there to do what they want to do. Let's share this instead. Will the treachery continue? GOP uses pro forma session to block Trump recess appointments. Only POTUS in history blocked by his own party. Recess appointments, Reagan did 240. W. Bush Jr. Is 171. George Jr. 171. Bill Clinton 139. Herbert Walker Bush 77. George Washington did 39. Barack Hussein Obama 32. And John F. Kennedy 29. Trump 0 under both McConnell and Thune. So neither of these guys is doing Trump any favors. And Thune is under incredible fire right now. So now I got to share this one, Blake. Moving right along. We're drowning in the incompetence of the GOP. I cannot believe this shit. Barely executive orders codified, can't defund the Taliban. Can you believe it, Blake? They can't. They're right now, America's funding the Taliban. No recess appointments, barely any Doge cuts, no SAVE Act. Now they're going on vacation. What the hell? And there's Thune up there, tall character, tall drink of water going off, doing his thing. Then we'll go share this one. Just run it rapid fire, and then I'll go turn it over to you. Majority of Americans wanted the Save America Act. Republicans in power promised it would pass. Now they've turned their backs on the people. How do you think it's going to go in November? You'll see it flip. Nothing worse than lying to your voters. It's a cancer that's going to spread like wildfire. Fire. And it's all the fingers are pointing at Thune. Thune, for his part, is pointing at Chuck Schumer. Congress members have enough people now on board to remove leader John Thune. That's what has to happen. They do have the numbers, but not enough have the balls to lead instead of hiding their offices. The voters certainly support Thune's removal. So Thune is really in the hot seat. One more. As he should, John Thune getting eviscerated by House Republicans. House conservatives are furious after Thune and Senate rhinos rammed through a Department of Homeland Security funding deal in the dead of night, fully funding everything except ICE and Customs Border Patrol officers. Unbelievable. 3 o'clock in the morning, and then they all dicked out of Washington to go on vacation. So we got real problems here that they need to solve, and they need to solve them ASAP. Blake, your thoughts?
Well, I think the Uniparty has been showing its face for a while now. We know that that there is a core within the Republican establishment that wants Trump gone, and they never wanted him there. They're still sitting in the camp in the Bush-Cheney world, and he's the guy they targeted. They wanted him out. So they're going to make life difficult for him, and the only way you can change that is by getting rid of them, or exposing the corruption somehow.
We need to have it exposed, and I think I think we're headed in that direction. I think we're going to see it exposed. Thune's got to go. They got to get rid of this guy because, and even before Trump became president, when it was like a choice, when Trump was running, and for the second term, I believe it was the second term, Thune went out and said, let's get Mike Spence to be our guy. My money says Spence, screw Trump. Let's get rid of Trump and let's go all in on Mike Spence. Are you freaking kidding me? The guy that betrayed America by signing off on the 2020 election. Another area where increasingly evidence is being presented. I can't go a single day on the X platform with seeing voter fraud. They had, what's his name? I never remember the guy's name. But anyway, you know who I'm talking about. He goes into California and he sees a whole bunch of people on the street signing off on voter fraud. Say, hey.
Oh, yep.
You know who I'm talking about. In the Peanut Gallery, if you think of the guy.
Sorry, Project Veritas.
Yeah.
Who was from Project Veritas.
Yeah, I never remember. James
O'Keefe.
James O'Keefe.
Yeah.
O'Keefe. Good Irish name, O'Keefe. Good Irish name.
Two brains figured it out there.
Yeah.
You go, well, I got the other.
Yeah, Sean's right. End the 60-vote cloture rule, aka the filibuster, actually a filibuster avoidance rule for lazy senators, not lady senators, lazy senators, difference sometimes. But yeah, things got to be cleaned up. They got to end the filibuster so that Trump can get his appointments through, so things can get done, so that laws get codified. Because all the executive orders in the world, they're a beautiful thing, but they can get turned over and overturned by the next administration.
I don't think these guys care. I think the whole point is like, hey, if we lose the House, it gets rid of Trump. It neutralizes them.
Well, uniparty.
Yeah, exactly. There is trillions of dollars at play here in the what we talked about at the beginning. These massive financial entities, be it large banks and investment houses and asset management class, who are all tied to this old world order where they were reaping in trillions of dollars of profits globally by having these choke points around the world. They're the guys that are in charge of this operation, and they don't want it to end. And they've got these too big to fail systems put in place that these senators know damn well that they've been told, well, in your area, if you don't do this, or maybe they got some Epstein trash on these guys too, and it's just not come out, and this is how they get to control them. That's how you control a guy who's not going to listen, and then you get some dirt on them. But the point is, it is the money, it is the power and the control of the financial mechanisms of the United States and the world. This is what's at play. That's why these guys will dawdle their asses through there. They don't care, and they don't care what happens in the midterms. And as I said, they could kill the filibuster and just go to 50 plus one. That's all you need, right? To pass. Just do it. We have the same problem here in our own country. What really bothers me when you watch some of these these proceedings that they're doing in the legislatures, and there's like just enough people in there to have a quorum, right? Where the hell are they all? Every seat should be full for everything. This idea that you just have enough people to show up to get things through, it means nobody gives a rat's ass. Right? They're too busy playing something else, but force them to sit through every conversation, every debate, everything about it, because that would show that they actually care, but they don't. And that's the thing. It's all pre-designed. And that's the uniparty message is like, yeah, we put on our pillow fight in public.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to the operational control of the financial mechanisms of the country, we're in alignment. And we'll use whatever mechanism, be it left wing, right wing, whatever, to keep the population fighting with each other and not focusing on them. But I think Trump has put the target solely on them. It's on you guys. You guys are the problem. And you guys have the power to change things. And I think that's the difference. Trump didn't, you read early interviews with Trump and all these people, he's a power monger, he's a dictator. This guy didn't want the presidency. If you actually listen to his interviews from the 1980s, people were egging him on early on in his life to run for president, and he said no. He didn't think so. And you know what he said? He warned people then. These guys wouldn't like my ideas because of this, because of the things that needed to change in America. And this is the corruption. And I think we've seen this before. What's the famous movie with Jimmy Stewart goes to,
There's Harry. The trouble with Harry.
No, Mr.
Mr. Smith goes to Washington.
Washington, exactly. I mean, this has been a problem for a long time.
It wasn't Harvey, the rabbit, the big rabbit.
That's right, Harvey.
Oh, Harvey.
Oh, Harvey.
Drink Harvey.
So I think this is this is a problem that our democratic levers with the U.S. Republic is where there's a flaw, and that maybe there needs to be a change constitutionally, even an amendment to clean these guys up, not the American people, but to clean them up. It's time to, enforce rules that are already in place. And all, because
but it shows how bad, it shows how ingrained the corruption is, and it's infested both the GOP and also the DNC. Both parties are guilty. There's bad actors involved. And so, dear friends, when you wonder why you guys got both houses, Trump didn't do anything. Trump never did have both houses. He barely had one. There's a lot of opposition to Trump within the GOP, and he's fighting them. And I like to believe it's there's a plan in place to finally get rid of these characters. A lot of them are getting primaried out. Every time you turn around, things get a little cleaner. Trump said, drain the swamp. It's happening slowly but surely. Yeah, Billy.
And you've been watching it happen in GOP. We've watched over the last few years the battles in the House, like when we saw the pushback against Kevin McCarthy. And that was quite public.
We outed him.
Wouldn't allow him to become Speaker of the House. Like there was voting again and again against him. And the Democrats, of course, are just sitting back going, we'll go with the group that doesn't want him in there. We'll just drag this out as long as we can. We'll put our own guy up.
All right.
We'll do
Now,
whatever it takes.
Blake, we wouldn't have a show worth it south if we didn't look at our own disaster dumpster bin. Remember, you had the beautiful dumpster bin thing.
The NDP dumpster
we're going
fire.
to look at China in the news again. This is kind of a funny thing. I got a couple of Chinese comments or stories here to follow. And again, I got to make it big because I was floating around doing stuff looking for this. Liberal floor crosser. We had a guy that was voted in as a conservative. They crossed the floor. He joined the liberal majority. Michael Judas, that's not his real middle name, but there we go. Ma is now straight up parroting CCP China talking points. He's denying forced labor exists in China, while the Uyghurs rot in re-education camps. The Uyghurs, the Muslim minority over there that have been rounded up and put in these re-education camps. Reality check. Canada's own laws ban imports made with forced labor, Uyghur cotton, solar panels, apparel, UN, US, EU, all documented, genocide, mass detention, on and on. Judas Ma, former direct Chinese-Canadian Conservative Association, just named Jamestown Foundation report as a CCP. It just, my God. Anyway, here we go. Disturbing. Did this Liberal MP really just deny that forced labor practices are taking place in China? Okay, so let's see this poor woman under cross-examination. It would be funny. It would be pure humor if the hubris wasn't so egregious.
The way you froze that screen there, I'm not sure if that was once a man, maybe before.
Well, trans man, I don't know.
It could be.
Okay,
so it looks kind of fierce there.
This is from Margaret McQuaig Jessa. I know you've been scarred from harsh images of butch lesbianism, so I do sympathize. All right, here we go.
Have you witnessed forced? Just a short answer. Have you witnessed forced labor in Shenzhen? Yes or no? So did you get that
I
from
work closely
hearsay?
with Human Rights Watch, where researchers did witness it.
So thank you. Have you witnessed forced? Just a short answer. Have you witnessed forced labor in?
He so friendly. I mean, I like him. Okay, so this is our great Canadian hero, patriot. We just love him. Xinjiang. Boy, he can pronounce that Xinjiang pretty easily. Anyway, so then we had the other situation. There's a whole bunch of these little stories. Holy smoke. Blake, I'm just going to roll with it. Okay, we got another story. This one here, this is from, I think, a couple of summers ago or something. But this is just for comedy, because I think after that, and there's I got some film of a guy actually at the camp in China. It's complete bullshit what this idiot's saying. But anyway, let's get the clip. Roll the other clip. Okay, here we go. Share this one instead. Toronto Mayor Olivia Chai was spotted dancing to celebrate a Toronto Caribbean carnival, joining the massive crowd of colorful costume, music, and Caribbean culture. Okay, so here's the mayor of Toronto doing a little dance. Let's see how we get on. There she is. That's your mayor, ladies and gentlemen. Having a nice goodie. Oh yeah, there you go. That is pretty fun. You know, in the traditional Chinese dress, you know, and there's so many stories this China thing, Blake. We got 11 of our members of parliament that were seen as being influenced. CSIS, our version of the NSA, of the CIA, went and said, you got trouble, people. China's influencing them. We got China. The Chinese army was seen marching on Salt Spring Island a couple of years ago. There's clips of those guys.
Well, they were saying they were more like a youth cadet group from China. They tried to call it
youth cadet military dress.
Yeah, exactly.
They're just young folks of fighting age, just having a little youth camp, like the Hitler Youth. They were a youthful organization. And then what else did we get? Oh, it just goes on and on. We had the Chinese lab in Winnipeg with the Ebola that they were sending contaminated mass contagion viruses to Wuhan, of all places.
How did that happen?
What could possibly fucking go wrong? Absolutely insane. And the cultural appropriation, we do apologize to our friends from the Caribbean when people from Asia are acting like they're from Barbados.
Well, she was Jack Layton's former NDP leader.
Was she? God, what a disaster. Anyway, so China in the news, you know, and it wouldn't be Canada without China.
It gets bigger.
And then there was also the story with the guy. It actually had a Chinese citizen. He's crawling along outside on the hillside overlooking the camp, and he's got freaking hilarious. He's got, and he's talking, and you can see him, and he's explaining how he's looking in on the concentration camps, the detention.
He was like when Alex Jones broke into years ago into the Bohemian Grove and exposed their Moloch ritual. The what did they call it? The care, where they basically throw their cares of the world on a sacrifice thing. But the what's amazing here is that things are even getting worse. And in Canada, you can't expose it through regime media. It's all being done by citizen journalists who are pulling this stuff out in Canada, because it's the only way that information is getting out. And it's only getting worse. And just now, like the stories that are breaking, Brookfield, of course, is highly tied to what's going on in China. Of course, our prime minister, who is a Brookfield guy, it seems like everywhere he goes is tied to Brookfield. Brookfield gets a contract here, contract there. They get control of all this thing. But apparently, Carney's deal that he made with Xi Jinping and came back, he's not telling anybody. The House is trying to say, well, what's in the deal? What did Canada get out of the deal? And they're not exposing it, saying it's confidential. So what do you mean it's confidential? This is our country with what you described, Prime Minister, as the biggest geopolitical threat to Canada was China. Yeah. He didn't say Trump and America, but it was China. And all of a sudden, Mr. Flip-Flop on everything, including the recent strikes on Iran, where he came out in support of the United States. And then 24 hours later, he's with Keir Starmer and Albanese out of Australia, and all the Commonwealth countries going, no, we're not support this, and their hostage videos.
They got their marching orders, and out went the
But what's amazing is that the Chinese have been allowed, and again allowed, there is a apparatus, that a global power that wants this to happen, allowed to influence and infiltrate Canadian industry, Canadian the political apparatus, our cultural institutions, our educational institutions, or in our universities. This is why we have this cultural Marxist philosophy within our students, right? This is that Mao philosophy where they have a cultural revolution.
Everything but the little red book.
But the big story that's breaking for us in our own backyard is this just came out in the last 24, 48 hours, is that, of course, One of the named politicians, what you described in the 11, was also none other than our premier, David Eby, was named in that same list as an exposed politician to foreign influence. And so DRIPA, which came into effect, which is the Declaration of Indigenous Peoples, basically, right?
Nothing but trouble for us with that.
Essentially saying, British Columbia, you have no rights to the land. It all belongs.
It's all Indian territory. We're back to Indian territory.
The sad fact is, it is not. It's the chiefs, the hereditary chiefs, who are getting title like nobles. Well, guess who's standing there, just broke out on all of these deals, is working out. And a friend of mine who you know, but I won't say his name.
I know who you mean.
Professor of history, knows all these people within there, has and worked within the consulting with various tribes.
He was the
on
government
land claims.
liaison. So I'm so curious. What's the word on the street?
So basically, he said the Chinese have been working with First Nations people in BC for a long time, to get control of our resources and deals with them, which bypasses all
the Canadian government. So the Indians
what's fascinating
deal with the Chinese.
So what's come out is exactly that exposure. That it came out that the Chinese companies have been working with First Nations leaders to access the rights of the resources.
Now, this is really interesting because the individual that you're speaking of, and I do know him, he's a card-carrying Liberal Party member. And has been
old
since
school Liberal. He told
since he was a kid. I'm very curious. What's his take on it? Just between you, me, and the
he doesn't like what's happening at all. And there's a lot of Liberals.
Does he know it's corruption? Does he recognize?
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%.
So he's not asleep. He's aware. His eyes are open.
Well, the Liberal Party is no longer the Liberal Party, right?
Okay, and he's aware of that.
If you listen to people like true red liberals, look at Stephen LeDrew on YouTube. Go watch him. He does this 3 minutes. He has completely said the Liberal Party's gone, and this guy was the central advisor and communications guy for Chrétien, right?
Oh, okay. Wow. Chrétien. It all kind of starts with Chrétien. That's kind of where things started to accelerate under Chrétien. I hated that guy.
Well, Chrétien, again, we're talking about the Laurentian elite poll, right?
Stuff,
and they have to manipulate things to keep the votes, because if they win,
remember, because he had folks, if you don't know, this guy's a former Canadian Prime Minister before Trudeau, and he had he had a stroke, or he had an issue where he kind of talked like this. I think
the side of his mouth, palsy kind of thing.
So somebody said, Chrétien, you're always talking on one side of your mouth. And the reporter, whoever the pundit was, said this, gotten a lot of shit because you're making fun of his handicap. Listen, they play the same shit with Trump all the time. And I go, John Lennon of the Beatles. If you watch the old Beatles, he's always doing like, I'm a retard guy.
Well, you've got a lot of old school liberals coming out right now. They've got YouTube shows criticizing this is not the Liberal Party. But the power base that controls their system, the big red machine, still there.
I got one more because you got to get going pretty quick.
I've got to run in about 5 minutes.
I just want to throw out a quick little anecdote for you. I watched Don Cherry, the famous Canadian hockey pundit. He's a legend in Canada. But he's spurned. He's not the right politics. He's our politics. He should have the Order of Canada deservedly. More than 90% of the people that give that shit piece of metal to, it means nothing. Like the Nobel Peace Prize or the Medal of Honor that they seem to give out to anybody. Not the Medal of Honor. That's still not the Medal of Honor. The People's award that they give. The
Kennedy Award Center. They give it there.
Anyway, all this shit. The one they gave to Bob Dylan and Barack Obama. Ellen DeGeneres given that one. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway. So these things mean nothing, but in Don Cherry's case, it really would have meant something. He's a real patriot. His son was being interviewed, but they had a Chinese girl and an East Indian guy. It was just so bizarre talking about, he goes, you people, how they were talking about how Don Cherry was canceled from Canadian media because he said newcomers come over and they don't wear the poppy and they don't show any pride or any allegiance or loyalty or representation of Canada's culture, its history, its traditions. They pay no acknowledgement towards it whatsoever. And he felt that was a crime against the nation on a from a moralistic viewpoint. And I just thought, I said, this is fucking crazy. Here's the kid talking about, because his dad's like Don Cherry, ladies and gentlemen. The guy's like 92 years old. He's still with it, slowed down a little bit and not really in shape to handle a one-on-one interview with anybody with any hard-hitting kind of dialogue. You know, age has caught up to him. Anyway, what a shit show. Blake, do you think we're ever going to see the end to John Thune and, get a new speaker, get a new chair for the Republican Party? Because they need one.
In the Senate? Senate's its own animal. It's a hard one. It's because it's a much different, like when you vote for the House of Representatives, that's more the vote by population. So versus the Senate is controlled really at the state level, right? Because they're supposed to represent the state's interests. So that's a lot more difficult. It depends on their term, right? Because some of them are going to be around for 4 years. Some of them are going to be around for 2.
Well, they can
some are going out.
Like in the case of Thune, they can recall this idiot.
Well, I think the problem is that it is, if the intent is to destroy Trump's presidency by flipping the House, and I don't know if,
because they'll impeach him.
Well, these guys are really, truly, a chunk of them are allied to this old world order to make sure it stays
and there's
in place.
A lot of grift.
Then they don't really care if they lose their seat if they're already multimillionaires and have been payola their position to tank this. So they don't care. So they'll be like, yeah, we'll turn it over to the Democrats, and it's their turn, and they'll go back to like it was in the first term for president. They'll tie him up in committees and endless attacks. He'll be censured. He'll be,
there'll be a special.
Nobody will get appointed again. It'll just be chaos, and judges will all be tied up, and nothing will be moving forward. So that's really the risk at this point. So America, you're going to have to. I think these guys still have to live in their community. You got to go at them hard. You got to be phoning their offices. You got to be writing them letters, and you got to be looking at third-party candidates. Then, if you can't dislodge them, and everybody get behind a third-party independent or something like that can knock them out. If the GOP is not going to allow for a change, then make a change democratically at the polls. Get a guy or a girl that's going to fight for your cause and fight for MAGA and win
can't
at
be
that level.
bought.
But I know they'll say you'll split the vote. But what's there to split at that point? There's only one side. You've got, if that's what they're doing, then the Democrat and the Republican are no different.
Yeah, they're working together. Absolutely, they are.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, we're going to let Blake get to his meeting. We're going to reconvene here back on Tuesday for another show. Ladies and gentlemen, I do have a Patreon. We have a show later today. You can join that Patreon. It's really independent of what we're doing here. It's totally independent. It's more of my music related thing. But there is the link to it. So you can head over there and, have fun. Go see what I'm up to over there with the Patreon. All right, Blake, thanks so much. I hope the meeting and everything goes good, and whatever you're dealing with gets resolved nicely.
Vehicle fixing.
Vehicle fixing. Got a car appointment. All right, everybody. Take care. Bye for now. Poof. Poof, poof.